God bless you and welcome once again to Changing Experiences with Pastor Derek. I am super excited about the season which we're living in, and I believe that God is up to some fantastic things for you. Changing Experiences is about real people sharing real stories and allowing unprecedented access into their lives as living epistles for the glory of God. Changing Experiences is an unscripted opportunity to allow God to speak through the real lives of my guests. Today, we are discussing transition, talking about going from the good to the not so good, back to the place that God has promised for you. I want you to tune in, tell somebody else it's about to go down. God bless you and welcome again to Changing Experiences with Pastor Derek. I am really excited about my guest that I have today with me. Been knowing her for a while. She's doing some fantastic work. I want you to help me welcome today Miss Michelle Mangum. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Wonderful. I love that word, fantastic. That's one of my favorite words to use as well. And I see that you're doing some great things. And just recently, you were honored as one of 10 top people that make Orlando effective and make Orlando work. Talk about that experience a little bit.
One, it was very surprising. I was completely unaware that I was getting that honor until I started receiving emails of congratulations from a number of political officials and individuals that work on my board, and I had absolutely no idea what they were talking about. So it was very humbling, but it really focuses on the work that I do in the community servicing adults and children with disabilities.
And you've been working in the non-for-profit industry for a while now.
Yes.
Working back, I think when I first met you with another company, Quest, you were doing some things with them back then. And,
correct.
I've seen you just literally make so much change in our communities. What kind of pulled you to the nonprofit entity?
To be perfectly honest, it started in undergrad. I was preparing to go to medical school and did an internship one summer working with kids with disabilities and fell in love. My father probably was excited because he didn't have to pay for med school and just kind of fell into this profession. And
what drives you the most when you see the needs for our communities? What drives you the most?
I think the drives, considering I specifically work with disabilities, is that level of accomplishment you give them. And I think for the families who have loved ones with disabilities, giving them that assurance that when they're not here, their loved one's still going to be okay. Helping them achieve being able to be more independent in the community, or for whatever that level of independence means for that person.
Wow. And what are some of the greatest challenges that you find with working with those with disabilities, family members maybe, or even sometimes those that you're serving?
I think some of the greatest challenges when you're dealing with disabilities is with the adults. Fundraising for adults is a little more challenging than it is for kids. I come from the school of thought that writing a check to support a program for children is great because that check means hope. My check is going to make a difference in this person's life. It's going to cure them. But when you're dealing with adults, they're adults. What are you fixing? So it's not as popular or gauche to donate to adults. So that's where I find that challenge is to really encourage people to understand that even as an adult, there are still challenges and limitations that they face, and their support is still needed.
Wow. And just another question, just right in that same frame. Have you found that it's popular, or how embracive are African Americans when it comes to really identifying with the fact that they have sometimes disabilities in their families?
Great question. I think for our community, it is still a challenge and a limit. We really get consumed with there is nothing wrong with Susie or Billy. They're just lazy. They're not doing their work, and we don't want to get our children tested. And I think early intervention is the best solution. Early intervention can oftentimes lead to mainstreaming that child, but we wait till it's too late. And at that point, all of the services they could have gotten from physical therapy, speech therapy, OT, when they haven't had these supports from 3, 4, 5, and they're now getting them at 25.
Wow.
There's a huge disparity in that gap for them. So we don't do an effective job. I really make an effort to work with our community as well as some other cultural communities where disabilities are not what you want to see. It's not just our community, it's the Haitian community, it's the Asian community. that we have a really difficult time accepting that you may have a loved one with just different abilities. I like to say unique abilities.
And why do you think that is such a challenge for us? What is there anything in particular you think that is kind of pushing towards that, or why do you think it's such a challenge for us to
I think
accept
it's just been society.
Wow.
I think society has always shined a light on what's different, and no one wants to be isolated out as being different. If you're already the minority in that community, whether it's African American, whether it's Haitian, whether there's Asian descent, when you're not that majority, you don't already want to be pinpointed out again. So we prefer to deal with that in our own house and not bring in outsiders. A lot of people, the news media, what you see makes people very skeptical of inviting that attention.
That's powerful, because so much of our life is shaped by how news has laid it out for us, and so much that we do is people suffer because of what we've allowed to go into our ear gates as well.
Absolutely.
And to be perceived to be one way. How do you recommend that we change it as a community?
I think as a community, we have to let everyone know that, it's okay. It's okay to be different. You and I are both different, and we're not judged based upon that. We can't, there's always that age-old motto saying that we don't judge based on race, color. Well, you can't judge based on a person's ability as well. We have to let everyone know it's okay. I think it kind of starts there with that level of acceptance and making people feel welcome in whatever that environment is for being different. So I think it kind of starts there, and for families, even given that level of support. Speaking with a parent most recently, she talked about the day she found out during her pregnancy that she was going to have a child with a disability. And what came from the doctors and nurses was, well, do you want to consider terminating the pregnancy, or is, I'm sorry. It was already given that death sentence, and this mother and this father had not even met their child yet. And now they have a child who is excelling far beyond what a quote unquote normal person is excelling. They live independently, drive a very nice car, have a great job. But what if that person, they really listen to what happened on the day of kind of that diagnosis? And
I've heard so many stories that sound so similar to that, where people have found out while they're in the midst of the pregnancy, and they're now faced with this choice. And I have even one of the little girls that I consider at our church. She's my niece, and we both know her very well. And when I just think about how precious her life is, and again, one who is just overcoming obstacles every day, it shows that we cannot pinpoint future off of man's perceptions.
Absolutely.
You cannot, you don't know, we don't see, we don't understand what God wants to do in our lives. And sometimes it's our differences that produce the testimonies of the abilities to believe. And so when I hear, when I think about the things that you're doing, it really encourages me, because I see that you're making a difference. Give me one of your most favorite testimonies that you can think about, with maybe it was one of the individuals at the location that you was working at, or a family report that came back to tell you about just how much they appreciate. Because one of the things that we find is usually when we're working, and we're working in something that's not popular, we don't always get testimonies that come back to us. No. So can you just give me just one of your experiences that really pricked your heart to say, I'm in the right place?
That I question regularly, whether I'm in the right place, because it is challenging. Nonprofits are not easy. They're not easy to facilitate. They're not easy to manage. And I would say, particularly in the state of Florida, when you're talking about disabilities, the governor continues to first cuts are seniors and disabilities. So when you're given more to do with less funding, it's extremely challenging. But in terms of your best story, I'm really just not even sure. I think there have been some years ago with a person that, even though her funding had been cut for physical therapy, occupational, at the time I was working residential as well, every day the staff would walk her, every day, a couple of times a day. And then, she's in her late 20s, early 30s, and then finally one day she walked on her own. Wow. And that became the commitment of people giving in spite of. So I would say that's probably a favorite. Or the parents in working, getting their child employed, having one mom said, I never thought this for my child. I was told what she couldn't do, and she's now an employee at Rose and Shingle Creek.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how you can also see in the midst of that process how those who are working alongside you, lives are literally changing. Because it's impossible to see. It's almost like doing missions work as well, where when you are sometimes privileged to see other things, it always gives you a different outlook on the potentials of what God can do, the potentials of life, the potentials of how things can change. And so it's such a blessing. It's rewarding to be in that position. And I'm sure that your staff workers get to see it as well. And it might not be everyday voice, but they're recognizing change and they're sensing and seeing a worth that they have as well when it comes to working with those with disabilities. And so we're going to be coming right back to talk with you a little bit more. I want to get a little bit more into transition.
Okay.
Because as good as things are going with you, it ain't always been that way with you. It hasn't always been that way when it comes to where you're working, how you're working, and the doors that God has opened up for you. And so I want you all to stay with us. We're going to be right back. Man, I want you to stay tuned. What's about to happen next is about to be a blessing for your life. One of my good friends, TJ Bristol, is coming to minister to us. He's high energy. I'm telling you now, you're going to love him. You've seen him all over the place, on news, every place. TJ Bristol's coming to you right after this.
Come on, everybody all over the world. I dare you to get up on your feet. Anybody want to go to heaven out there? I say, do anybody want to go to heaven out there? Everybody put your hands together like this. Hey, oh yeah, yeah. Listen. Oh, there's a place beyond the clouds, a place beyond the stars, a place beyond the moon, a place beyond the sky. How can we go? How can we go? You must be born again, yeah, yeah. How can we go? Don't you wanna to a place called heaven? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, to a place called heaven. You wanna go to a place called heaven? Come on, put those hands together. Don't you wanna go to a place called heaven? Everybody clap those hands. Come on, put those hands together. We bless your name, Jesus. We give you all the praise. We give you all the glory. Come on, B.O.B. There's a place beyond the clouds. Yeah, beyond the stars. A place, yeah. Woo! Beyond the sky. How can we go? Hey, how can we go? You must be born again, yeah, yeah. Can we go? Don't you wanna to a place called heaven? Yeah, Let's go. Whoa, whoa.
I told you that was going to be a blessing for you. TJ Bristol, make sure that you follow him. He's doing some great things and really ministering all over the place. I'm coming back right after this message to continue my conversation with Michelle as we're talking about transition. We're back here again with Michelle, and we're talking about just some great things that are happening in the Central Florida area and just some work that she's been doing and how she's really committed herself to making a difference in our community. And today, Michelle, I also want to dig a little deeper into it because even though you're making such a positive impact in our community, and we recognize all the accolades and we see all the connections that are happening and the people that are contacting you and calling you, and you're at everybody's request right now. We understand all those things, but it has not always been that way for you. You had to go through a little transitional season. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I would say with my last employer, and I know that's the direction that you're going, there were a number of challenges, leadership changes, and again, it is a phenomenal organization which I still support, but it was an organization that I knew before I left, I should have gone a long time before, but I wouldn't move. I can remember my husband, I can remember even us having a conversation that you need to move, and I wouldn't move until I was finally put in a position that I didn't have a choice to move, when your position is now being restructured. So it was in that time, it was like I didn't have a choice on what to do. And even in that, I guess you say that transition, I consider myself to be pretty intelligent. A little educated, have all the right degrees behind my name.
Went to right school.
Went to right school, absolutely the right school. But I couldn't buy an interview. I literally was unemployed for probably 6-7 months. Fortunately had a nice severance package, different things planning for that transition. And where I'm at now, the irony is I didn't look for that job. They called me and I declined it twice, because I didn't want to do it. When I walked in and saw, the commute, and no, y'all really want me to actually work. No, but just on the last meeting, one of my former employees had been out there, and she's like, no, Michelle, you just have to go back one more time. Just look at a file. And I was like, okay, for you, I'm gonna do this. And I went and I, asked, let me sign a waiver, let me just look at this file to see if I'll do this. And I remember looking at the file saying, they're going to close. They're so out of compliance and so many things, they're going to close. And my program right now is the only program of its kind in Seminole County.
Wow.
So that doesn't have a residential requirement. There's another program, but you have to live in their group homes. We're the only one that doesn't have that restriction and requirement. So if this program closed, you're looking at someone with a disability having to rely on transportation to bring them all the way into Orange County for services. And that can mean an 1.5 to a 2-hour bus ride one way every day. So it was in that moment of, I guess I have to do this. So that kind of put me there. And I try to remind myself daily that this apparently is where God wanted me, because I can't fathom the fact that I had not met with anyone else. And I get a lot of calls now, a lot of recruitment factors, but I've kind of made the commitment to repair the program, to fix it, before I have to figure out, is it time for me to make yet another transition? And
I think that's huge, that you speak a little bit about seasons of our life. Where you were was great for you for the season. And it was so great that you weren't ready to leave the season yet.
No.
And sometimes God will have us to literally go through seasons of our life to put us to a new place that is more befitting for our lives. See, when I think about your life and I hear your story, I think about the fact of how you've gone through so many different things, how you've been effective in so many places. And I like to look at it from the standpoint of you're so gifted, God didn't want to leave you with one person only to experience your gift. And so when you understand the order of God and you understand the steps of God, you also recognize the fact that every place couldn't use your gift, even though sometimes we're the right person, just in the wrong place. And oftentimes the transition is not comfortable. But while you were in transition, not only were you looking for a job, you started out doing something else as well. And so looking back now, what do you think when you look back now? What do you say about God looking back now at where you were in the season of applying? Because while we're sitting here talking, there's somebody else out there right now that's trying to find a job. There's somebody else out there right now that's trying to figure out, when is it going to be my day? When is it going to open up for me? There's somebody out there right now that seems to be going through rejections, and they have no place of employment. They're not sure about the next day, whether they're going to ever see any cash or money come into their house. How can you speak to our yesterday and speak to where God has brought you from to where you are now? Could you see this yesterday?
Oh, absolutely not. I think I also come from that mindset of having attended a phenomenal university, being Florida Agricultural Mechanical University.
On the highest of?
On the highest of Seven Hills.
In the beautiful city of?
Tallahassee, Florida.
Amen. If you're going to do HBCU, you should try this one.
Absolutely. There's
Amen.
only one.
There's only one. Yeah.
Being at FAMU, and I think a lot of what my parents instilled in me, even with your skills, you always need that backup plan. Mm-hmm. So I think what I would say to someone is if there are talents that you have, things you've wanted to explore, the one thing my mother always said, and even professors at FAMU, were have something going even while, because it's easier to start it while you're working. When you have that regular 9 to 5 and that regular, I'm going to have a paycheck every 2 weeks or whatever your pay period is, it's easier to start another business while you have that additional income. So I was fortunate in the fact that when I had that transition, there were a lot of things I was always doing that actually helped sustain me. I was teaching CPR and first aid class. I was a certified trainer. I was a certified HIV instructor. So I began to really promote that. I had the business with Michael Madison Design doing T-shirts, jewelry, and then of course my husband and I stepped out and decided to reopen a shoe store, which we've always had either in Chicago or Nashville. We opened the shoe store here, but those things are always easy to do when you know you have that steady income already coming in. But I think what was great of not having it, it really forced us to really do more. Because I would say while I was working, was I as aggressive? No. Little laid back with it, but when that's all you have to utilize those talents. And I think, as you've said, people get very comfortable in that waiting. Well, I submitted another interview. Well, if you're submitting interviews, are there opportunities for you to go volunteer somewhere? Because oftentimes volunteering leads to employment. Because
Wow.
if you're there and they know that you're doing things already, when it's time, and you're phenomenal, when it's time to hire someone, they look within, not just at their own employees. They look at their volunteers. They look at people who come and serve. And are you looking for employment? I know a number of people who've gotten employed off of volunteerism.
That's amazing, because even in my volunteering, I'm saying to God, I'm going to still take care of somebody else. And I'm going to put biblical principles back into place. And I'm going to depend upon you to take care of me. So that's an amazing piece all by itself, because it's amazing just to see how God will place us in a position. And sometimes God will put us in a place that we have no control over. Mm-hmm. We don't have control to go left or right. I know me personally, I've been put in a place where I'm like, I can't do nothing. There's nothing I can do but believe God. I can't do nothing but trust God. And my mentality now is that my faith is, when my faith is connected, I am automatically walking in my next season. When my faith is connected, when I begin to believe that God has it under control, I literally take the worry off the table and I begin to experience God work in mighty ways for me. And I think that's the piece that a lot of people are missing. Our faith is not forward. Our faith is stagnant. Our faith is not doing anything. And the Bible teaches us that faith without the works becomes dead. Right. And when you are constantly doing things, I heard my grandfather say years ago, keep doing something, one of them gonna work. Just keep working on something. That he used to say, work on your hustle, boy, something gonna work. Something gonna happen if you just keep working on your hustle. And I found that I've fallen into more things by falling forward, believing forward and changing my mindset. And so, Michelle, I want to thank you so much for being involved. Tell everybody about the company again. Give us the name and give us how we can reach out to you, because you also said something powerful when you said you're being cut from your fundings, but you've been given more assignments. So how can we even contribute to what you're doing?
The program is Seminole Work Opportunity Program. It's seminolwork.org. You can always visit our website. There's a donate button on there. I encourage people, anyone, whether it's donating to Seminole Work or any program, know where your dollars are going. Go visit the program. So we always welcome people to come out and see what we're doing, because not only are we seeking donations, it's also seeking opportunities for the people that we serve. Because a lot of what we do is we do a lot of in-house contracts. We do work for other companies that the people we serve have an opportunity to earn a paycheck. So that's always very exciting. But you can definitely visit our website, learn more about the organization. We're in a lot of transition, a lot of rebranding. So definitely visit us, seminolework.org. We're on Facebook, Seminole Work Opportunity. The Facebook page is great because not only do you learn about our program, but we really share a lot of inspirational stories about what's happening in the community for disabilities.
Awesome, awesome. And so we are super excited about having you today. And I'm just encouraged by your testimony. And I know that things are going to even get better for you. This is just the beginning of what God's going to do in your life. Thank you again for joining in with us today with Changing Experiences, Pastor Derek. We've had another great show, great topic, talking to a phenomenal person who's doing some great things in our Central Florida area. A living testimony that God can do anything but fail. You might be in a rough season of your life right now, but keep your head up and know that God is going to work things out for your good, but he's working it out most of all for his glory. It's going to turn around for your favor. As a matter of fact, the second that you can believe it, it's already working for your good. Have a fantastic day, and tell all your friends and your neighbors to join in with us again next week as we come back to you with another episode of Changing Experiences, Pastor Derek. Love you. Have a fantastic day.